Okay, great. Here we go. And so I'm just going to pull out some brushes that I think, will be good for me. I like working in some small brushes only when I am, I mean, like it depends. I think that my big brushes for me it's more about the final touches, the more of emotional touches for me. I think I work very well. Like I'm drawing in my pencil, and here I have like a flat brush right here. It's been used. It's got heart bristles. I'll also use a lot of my brushes are very used and beat up, but I work good with them because I'm moving paint. That's how I look at it. Okay, so I'm gonna take off my glasses. I'll get right to work. I've already posted somewhat of an image of me on Google Classrooms if you care to go and just look and follow like a little bit of what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm probably going to, I need to be correcting a lot of, I'm adding this green in this weird shadow that I see. I feel like I can see it as green. Now, today's discussion is going to be about the primitive eye. And in the primitive eye, you're going to be squinting, squinting your eyes so you can see what lies beneath the shade or what is really in the light. Okay, so if you squint your eye at your face as you're looking in the mirror and you're trying to get your spotlight together, or you got your lighting already together that you like, and you can see where your shadows and lights are on your face. If you look at them very closely in your primitive eye, which would be your eye that, let's say, humans used in the time that they were Neanderthals or living in caves or living in darkness or having to, depend on natural light. So their eyes were a little bit more, I would say, I guess they were better. You could see keener, you could see further, you could see deeper because it all was tied into survival and intuition. So we want to bring back that primitive eye onto our shades and shadows and things like that we see on our face. It's important because this will be the secondary like things that we would do. This is something that we would do later. Um, right, I guess right now, like make sure you have your palette knives ready, but this is not something that I would say, yes, you could do it initially. As you see it, mark it as you see the color. I've seen a lot of you already add beautiful color into your work. And I probably do the same. So yeah, I'm gonna rephrase that. Of course, you go straight into the color as you see it. For me, it was important to get the lights and darks down, and so that's what I did. So I got a lot of the lights and darks down in my image, and here I'm going to continue. Excuse me, I'm just going to close this window so we can have a little bit of silence. The little doggy is outside. Okay. Excuse me, sorry. No noise control. Okay. Um, okay, excuse me. All right, so I'm going to get right to it because we're recording and we need to get right to it. So I'm taking my yellow ochre and I want to really emphasize this area here in my nose as I'm looking over in the mirror to my right, okay? And so I am correcting by actually adding more colors. So I'm adding colors. That yellow ochre, I want to tap it with some white, bring out its natural lightness and also lighten it up a little bit so I can add something that says that it's light, but it is not white. Okay, and I'm just going to take that lightness around the nostril there. Okay, I'm going back up into this area here, and I'm going to need a bigger brush. I'm going to need a nice, flat, soft brush for this color to stick. Okay, it's going to stick. It's going to like just be fluid. Look at that. Okay, so we want to get down in there with this lightness here and over to that green that I put there, right? So we're going to even hit that green in there. Right? So now it's got like this yellow ochre and green. And guess what else it has? More green. It has more green, and I'm going for my sap green. I'm going for a deeper, darker green. At some point, I'd like you to have olive green on your palette, somewhere on your palette, because olive green is an amazing dark. It's an amazing dark that leads a lot into the primitive eye. Just want to make sure we're recording. I believe we are, yeah. So I definitely want to, I want you to do that, because I think I talked to you before about the lights and darks of like making darks with burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Well, that's most definitely true. Most definitely you can do that. But even still, even with the olive green, you can add that in there, because maybe it's like a darkness or a hue that goes over your face, but it's not exactly that dark. It has color in it. It's something that you can see in there. It could be a red or a pink, but you can place it, you know? So we're going to go in here. I'm going to continue with my sap green, or yeah, it's about sap green here. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to also eventually, look at that, I'm going to correct this eye in here, because I can see that I've gone out way too much, you know? So I'm actually going to go back with my yellow ochre. I'm going to hit this area in here, curbing it, adding more hairline out here, hairline in there. My hairline, I'm going to, since I dyed my hair blonde, I'm going to take my yellow ochre and I'm going to add more white to it. And I'm going to just hit that hairline so you can see it, right? There you go. And it's a lot back here. It's really bright back there. Okay. And I'm going to take that same color that I put on my hair, and I'm going to go in here into this eyelid that goes down, right? And it stops here where the eyebrow really is, right? Because my head is sort of tilted that direction. I'm adding a little bit of this weird murky light, and I'm focusing on my eye. Now I'm going to touch it with this white here, titanium. No big deal, you know? It doesn't have to be pure. No way is my eye that pure white, right? In fact, I can see some pink in there, right? But I just want to add that lightness that says that it comes from some kind of white foundation, you know, like that this is light. This is the lightest of the light. Adding that remaining color, hitting it back into the hair, you know, why not, right? Bring it down in here, okay? So, and I'm recording this, guys, so we can look at this later. I know it's important to a lot of people. A lot of weird stuff happened in the first segment that we had, so please excuse me for that one. But I'm trying to be a little bit more on point for you to refer to later. Okay. I'm taking my burnt sienna, which is almost like really a must in this palette of mine that I have for myself. I see a lot of things that are going to be mixed with burnt sienna. So if my ear is here and my darkness in the ear is here, and I just hit that with a burnt sienna, I can go back in here, just tap it with some right there. Then I take my purple. Then I'm taking my purple here. A little bit of purple. I'm mixing it in with the burnt sienna, which is really just going to give me this weird darkness. I don't have to mix it like that. I could use a burnt umber, and I could use that mixture too, burnt umber and ultramarine blue if I wanted to. But I feel like this is more brown. And so I can add that weird burnt sienna in here and lighten it up. And I'm using, I want you to know, I am using the same brush, and I dip it in linseed oil. I wipe it on my cloth, and I keep going. But that is my palette. If you do not want murky colors, okay? If you don't want murky colors, you don't want to work in that kind of blended state where you just fluid like that, please make sure that you have your mineral spirits in another jar, and occasionally dip into those mineral spirits, please, and clean your brush as you go along. From each time you touch one color, you go back into that mineral spirits, cleaning your brush, sort of like I used to say, like eating sushi, you know, a little bit of, you know what, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, your hand's always moving. So that's something that you need to remember. I work very fluid, um, and I have a messy palette because I work fluid. So if you don't want a messy palette, I did list information on, just starting your palette, and we can go into that here as well, where I will dress a palette for you and show you like what colors are next to what colors and why they're next to that color, because they are going, they're easy access to blend, or when you are blending colors, you can do that on your palette. The interesting thing about what I'm trying to teach you right now is that you're kind of blending on the canvas. And so it's like, you don't really, like, you're not spending a lot of time blending those pure colors. You may want to pre-blend. That's also something that I do. I pre-blend things. So I may say, I'm going to use a lot of this cerulean blue today for my lights and darks. And I know I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lot of cerulean blue and mix it with white, titanium white. And I'm going to say, okay, so I got that all mixed up. It's now this very light blue. So I can just grab it and go to it and not have to like mix it up every time I decide I need a color. So you wanna definitely mix your palette for colors that you're pretty much sure you're going to be using. You're going to be using this. So that's one. That's a really good pointer. You're going to need that. Okay.
Inga, may I ask a quick
Sure, please ask
non
away.
sequitur question? Do you usually wait for the underpainting to dry and then proceed?
No,
Or
I
do you,
don't, because
okay.
the key word, and you probably already know, it was not an underpainting. It was just a time, like, how do you say, like a time. We didn't have enough time to keep going.
Oh, okay.
So like, because it's oil, you can go back into it, no problem. It's just like you started just before. You're just like a repetitious act, this oil thing. You know what I mean? Did that answer your question? I just want to be clear for you.
Yes. Yes,
Cool.
thank you.
So no, I don't see this as an underpainting. I'm just continuing on. Good question though, because we will be doing underpaintings in this class. Hopefully, I did put it in the syllabus, and I think we should know it. And the difference between underpainting and wet on wet, because underpainting is old and ancient, and it's a beautiful process.
And
Um,
so because it's oil and I'm just so new to, I'm total beginner on oil,
no, it's
you're reactivating the oils that were painted last week?
yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm finishing up, I'm on to my demo still. Okay.
Oh,
I'm working my way back into it
oh,
and I'm focusing today on the primitive eye and lights and darks. So I got my spotlight up here, you see what I'm saying? And I'm trying to retract the image that I see of me using that spotlight. So that would be our lesson on lights and darks today into this same canvas that we were using last week. Is
great.
that good?
Yes. Thank you so much.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a comment.
okay.
If the oil is dry from last week, putting more oil on it's not going to reactivate it, is it?
What you're doing is you're not worried about the oil that's there. It's there. It's not going to reactivate it. It's not going to get smoother. It's just going to be receptive. And even if you didn't put oil on that canvas, before, like again, and you just went into it continuously on your own, oil is the most forgiving. It just doesn't matter. It's gonna come off dry. That's all. It's gonna look dry, but we can do tons of research on painters that like a dry look. You know what I mean? It's really up to you. The oil helps, with the paint to make it fluid. It definitely adds nourishment into the canvas as this paint's going on, and it's a binder, But there are people who don't use oils. I mean, don't use linseed oil for their work. They have another process, and that's why their work looks a certain way. So did I answer your question? I
Yeah.
want I want to make sure. I kind of rant, you guys got to stop me, and it's okay. All right, so I'm getting in here with my darks and I'm trying to define what I did last week, but now I got something very important. I have lighting. So now some of the things that I did last week are very different. They're not as pronounced. I just have a spotlight on me and it's at the bottom on my easel for the phone, you know? It's not like a big spotlight or anything. I want to add a little orange into here, maybe mix it with some white so I can get that bright, weird orange, maybe add a little bit of ochre yellow in there. Try to lighten this area here, still adding this reddish sort of thing in, dyed hair that's dark, it turns from like very dark to like this bronzy sort of feeling, and then it can get light as the process goes. So that's kind of what my hair shows, as it was turned, in color. The lightness streaks through. And remember we were talking about texture? This also adds to texture. Telling the truth of what you see adds texture into my face, adds into my hair, because the way my hair grabs that color, that's texture. That's definitely how my texture is. So I'm pushing it back here with my lightness, and here, there we go. And here there's some lightness. Okay, see how it's spotty like this? Now, I want to continue with this spottiness. Add a little bit of burnt sienna mixed with like this red in here. There we go. Okay, I'm getting to a point where I'm going to be adding my darks again into this area of the eyebrow. And I'm just going to hint it, guys. I'm just going to like hint that like that. Now, I can see the curve of my eye going over here like this. There is darkness here. There is darkness here. There's this weird darkness I got going on here. I'm going to go into this with darkness because I have to define this area here. I got this one bit. Let me darken it up a little. One bit of eye, bottom eye lid here that goes down. I got my nose here. Okay, so we hit it back in here some. I'm just going to add this purplish feeling in here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, I'm telling you. Because when I hit it with that palette knife and where I feel like I'm blending or adding, I see bronze, like lightness in here, like really strong lightness. And I'm coming down at the end of around the end of my lip here. Or jaw, what do you call like this would be my area of jawbone, definitely. I got my area of jawbone and I am just gonna sort of add the shades that I see in there, and that's a little bit too bright. I'll go over it with my burnt sienna. Yeah. Yep, I'll just go over that with my burnt sienna. I'm adding darkness in here. Key is adding the darkness. I don't care if you don't like the darkness. It makes you look old. It makes you look worried. It doesn't matter because we're not doing that. We're transferring information. And this is so important because it's important to document yourself the way you see it first and add in all those other things later because that's something else, We're observing who we are right now in the mirror, and all that goes with it. Because there's enough psychological babble coming from the mirror right now. You know what I mean? You don't have to pretend, there's so much there in the study of the face and the things that come out of it that you don't mean to say even. And that's what I mean by psychobabble. It's not like a bad thing, actually. I love self-portraits because I feel like it's not about them telling, it's not about the, oh gosh, it's going to tell my emotion. It tells so much more than that. If you really look at the, at people's self-portraits, and we can definitely do looks of that. So I'm getting up in here. I want to follow, I want to understand where the darkness goes into my eye like that. I need to understand that. And then I know in here, my cheek comes out longer, right? So in here, there's darkness. And here, there's darkness. My lips are slightly open. right? Because I'm talking to you guys. I got this mark here, and here I'm adding darkness here, and then I'm adding this darkness that comes over from here on the lips, and then the lips sort of disappear onto this one, and all this shade, all this shade that's here gets tinier. Shadow gets tinier. Up here gets tinier. Okay. Oh, poor puppy out there. I'm adding darkness around my hairline. I'm adding darkness in the background. Now, I want a nice darkness. It doesn't matter what the darkness is. I just want a darkness. You see? I just want darkness so I can define an area that I feel like needs defining. Now I'm going to measure my face to make sure that, okay, so I'm going a little bit too far in at the bottom, which means I'm probably going to need to come out here like that. So I'm going to go up in here in darkness to accentuate this nostril. In fact, I don't really see the darkness that I'm trying to portray that's there. It's like a hint of darkness. All right. So I got this here, darkness in here. Now I'm going to go back to my burnt sienna, and I'm just going to add like this weird darkness that's on my earlobe, and this darkness in here. I'm going to go even darker to show that the earlobe has depth, and it kind of, you know, it has that much kind of depth in it. Okay, so this area here, I'm going underneath my neck, and I think I'm going to go underneath my neck in green because it's lighter, like it goes into this, you know, like this green that I keep talking about is also a complement to ochre yellow. And so the ochre yellow is there. That's why the green is there. That's why that green is there. Because somehow it's in my skin, you know, so the green shows up. Here we go. I'm adding that jawline where I hope that it's supposed to be. And it does come out a little. It comes out in more of an orange, but it comes out, and all this comes out in orange too. And then even in here, it gets in there. So my lip actually goes all the way to here, all the way almost to the end, okay? So here it is. We'll just brighten that area up so we can tell where the lip is. It goes into this weird triangle. There's a light mark that comes down this end. The chin is over here. Okay, so I know that because I'm following light. And when I mark it, okay, so wait a minute. We're going to move the mouth over some too, because we have this area here that's light. Then we have this area here that's light. Then the mouth, it's not really to the end because there's lightness and skin here. There's skin there. And it goes all the way up into here. The nose is not as flared. It has like a green hint to it up here, almost like a, and then it tap it back with a little bit of like red or burnt sienna, mix it like adjacent to this green there, right? And now we're going to get to where I'm leading to with all this splotchy stuff. I want to show you where this all goes. So I actually do see a little bit of a scoop in my nose, and I'm going down. And this is actually a very light part of my nostril that's farthest away from me. So I'm going to add it in there. And it goes into a slant. Okay. In here where the lips are, I feel like I need to put the lips in before I actually touch this with my palette knife. So you guys, so we both can like see where the markers are. Okay, so there's lightness here. There's this weird lightness here. There's lightness here. It goes down. I'm following the light down. That curves my lips. It just curves. I'm just drawing the shape of where that energy is. Okay, I see a burnt sienna, a light burnt sienna with a little bit of ochre yellow and white under here. It's going down. It does show that my lip is starting to pout, you know, showing to like, you know, a little gravity there. you know? And so I have to lighten that area because it's, it shows, that it's doing its own thing there. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just try to concentrate on the lips here, and then I'm gonna hit this with my palette knife so you can see where I'm talking about, what I'm talking about when it comes to blending wet on wet and the options. Okay. Okay, so going in here, I'm gonna add a little pink, hitting my cadmium red. Also there's a permanent rose that's a really beautiful pink. It makes a really beautiful pink as well. And if you mix permanent rose with like a cadmium orange, and white, oh, it can make a nice flesh tone, really nice. Something, I always thought that was really pretty. As opposed to, like a flesh tone that goes right out of the tube. I just didn't feel like, it had a little variety. You had a little bit of, you had a control because you can change it. You can add it darker, you can make it darker, you can do whatever you like.
Excuse me, Inga.
Sure.
Question, can I use a cadmium green in place of a pale, I think you said pale green?
No, I said sap, or I said olive green.
Olive green, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Winston Newton's olive green is a special green, and it is very dark. And no, I don't think that the cadmium is the same. I think they're just absolutely different, different hues, if you know what I mean. Like, why did you see something like that would be a replacement? Because I'll tell you, olive green is like what the masters would have used back in the old days, like Caravaggio. And I'll tell you, the olive green, the reason why they use it is because it's like, it starts off, it looks like it's almost black. And so as you add white in your underpainting, that's all you're doing is adding white or not, or, adding more of the pure olive green, so then you're breaking it up into lights and darks with just that. So anything else is just a mix of something else, and it doesn't break up like that olive green does. The olive green itself breaks up into many gradations, so you don't have to, like, your palette for underpainting could literally be olive green and titanium white, period.
Oh wow. Is that a cool green?
Is it a cool green? Meaning very dark? I mean, yeah. It's not warm. I would say it's a cool green. I would say it's a cool green because you're mixing white to bring out all these other effects in it, and they're still very precise. Like, it's like, I don't know. I gotta pull some out and show it to you. It's almost like, yeah, I gotta pull some. Do you even have any, or you just?
I have a sap green. I have a Viridian green, which I'm guessing is probably the closest, but I can get it. I'll look for it.
But no, listen, it's not a problem now. You can use whatever you want right now. But when we get to underpainting, you're going to want to have that one. That's all. You don't have to have olive green right now. You can have anything you want right now. You're looking at yourself, And we could talk about, okay, so right now, I am going to use, and I use this on dark complexions. I'm just going to put this in here. This is something that a lot of people don't know. What I do is I take this cerulean blue and I hit this area in here, and I come down in here. Do you see like how my primitive eye is picking that up? You see what I'm saying? It's picking up this extra hue in the lightness that you see. Like, so again, with the olive green, they all do something very different. And it's not like I use olive green on my face all the time. I probably use like permanent greens or like interesting light greens, like what I just put there. I use that because you can see deeper into the color and into the lightness. I'm going to use some burnt sienna. Am I answering the question correctly? Am I giving you what you can? Do you understand that one?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
No, I definitely want you to understand. These are optional colors that you can use, but when we get into underpainting, if we can get there, and everything's, we're there, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be there, you're going to enjoy using that olive green. You're just going to enjoy the fact that we're going to be mapping out things in that olive green and then going back with the same olive green and blending And that is just, and when you see those paintings, I can just tell you, they look gorgeous. They look really beautiful before you even put the color on. You know, you're like, wow, that olive green is very, because you get to control the lights and darks, and that's what it's all about. Okay. That's just what it's all about. So here I am. I decided I really need to start hitting my, I'm just going to put my brush there and some linseed oil. I'm taking my wonderful palette knives. Excuse me, I have to get my wonderful palette knives for you guys. All right. So here I got my one, and mind you, this is dry in this area here. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm not, my mind isn't drawn over there yet. I can see that the light is really on there and it kind of looks like a pinkish look. And then there's this darkness in here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start hitting things down. So I'm going over here. I don't have to go in any particular place. I'm not working all the way left to right like that. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm hitting things down with the form. I'm still looking in the mirror. I can still locate the darkness, mixing it. Okay. All right. I see green here, but I didn't put green here. I put darkness here, but I'm going to push it back anyway. Check out what I'm going to do to that eye. I'm right over it because no eye is that white. Right over it. I'm blending. I'm blending. Okay? Nothing is perfect in the face. That's not who we are, right? We're vibrating lights and everything is blended. I'm going back. 1, 2, whoo, go down. 1. People get intimidated by this, but this is a great and freeing experience to say that you have control over this. It's not going to be as blended as a fan brush. I'll tell you the difference. Let me get my fan brush out. Make sure that I have one. All my fan brushes are all jacked up, to tell you the truth. Let me just see if I can find one that's really nice. A nice clean fan brush. Look at this one. I think I found one. Check it out. This is a fan brush. All right. If I really wanted to, now look, I am always having a cloth in my hand. Right now it was an apron that I could have used, but I have a cloth in my hand. So I do a lot of weird laundry with oil paint. Got my palette knife. I'm always wiping. Here's my fan brush. And you're always wiping with a fan brush. Okay. So let's say I got this fan brush and I'm going to do the same thing basically I do with my palette knife. I got this. I'm going to work in this area right here. Right. I'm going to take one brush, a total dry brush. Doesn't matter. It's just going to be used. I want it to be hard almost, like hard bristles. Gives a little agitation to the piece. You know, let me just grab anything. Okay, so because I just want to show you real quick. So here I got it. I'm doing this. I'm agitating the color right here around this darkness. And then I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to fan so close, but not touching the canvas. Like I'm brushing and whispering on the canvas in wind. So I don't want to touch it. I don't want to show that there's a mark with the brush. I'm literally just fanning it as close as I can get it. You can hear it a little bit, but I'm not leaving a mark. And then with my fan brush, I can go on and curve down to the next one, you know? So this is a blended area, but it isn't blended like this area is blended. The blending of this area is also something maybe just a little bit more used with Sargent and then maybe with Caravaggio. But I don't believe that Caravaggio did not use a palette knife. I believe he did. They all sort of kind of did. Because you want those brights without losing them. With the fan brush, you can actually lose it. You can over fan, and that's why the fan brush is better used in underpainting than it is with wet on wet like this, where you kind of want to see all your light and dark marks, and you want to catch this, you know, the liveliness of it, and that's, you know, the color. And that's what the Impressionistic period was really about. It was about impulsiveness. It was about painting what you saw, truths, you know, very inspired by Japanese works. France was at that time. And here we have all this brightness that was a little bit more muted and fleshed out when it came to the times of Caravaggio. I mean, it was bright because, you know, Caravaggio, whoa, he was an underpainter. And so you can go to the Gallery Uffizi today and look at his work through a X-ray machine, because there's always going to be a painting against underneath an underpainting. And that is the beauty and secret of the treasures of underpainting and the history of painting in Europe, is that they have these treasures, you know, and that's just what it is. So so I hope you got to see a little bit of a difference between oil painting with the fan brush and your palette knife. Your palette knife, you can, don't worry about these. These are in the skin. And so what you would do to this area in here is that you would go back again and adding what you see, your lights and darks. This area here needs to be lighter. So if it needs to be lighter, and I really do think it needs a little light and blue, I'm mixing them all together, the yellows, the lights and blues. I'm gonna get some kind of weird green. I'm gonna get it in there, but I wanna see it pop. So I'm gonna paint what I see, because on the live figure, if you have the right lighting, your skin is popping with color. And not to mention, you know, one day when you're out there painting somebody else's, you know, retraction, you can also see the skin popping with color, probably, but it doesn't matter. You looking in the mirror and you observing somebody else is the same thing. It's just all in the head. It gets different when it's just you, you know? So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this anymore. I will be continuing to work on my self-portrait, but I also want to give you all time to go and work on your self-portrait in your breakout rooms. If you would like to meet with me, just chat me and I'll see. Oh, wait a minute. There's people that have not. Why are these people not in? I thought I put them in. I don't know what happened.
You should disable the waiting room.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You know how to do that?
I'm gonna look right now. Thank you. Okay, so I'll disable the waiting room. Is that into more?
It should be, I think, under participants. Yeah, it would be under more.
Okay, under participants. Okay.
Do you see a list of participants? Yep. I think there should be a menu option.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, all the way down there is a more. And so you say that there is a way to disable the waiting room down in here in the more? Excuse me, everybody. I noticed that people were in the waiting room and I didn't understand that. I had to let them in. So.
Does it show disable, the disable option?
No, it doesn't show the disable option of the waiting room. I'm looking, let me see. Oh, here's another more. No, that's for icons. Oh, let me just look and see what if there's an option. Okay, so under participants, I can hit that. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to.
You want to make me co-host and I can quickly check? I don't remember and I can't see it because I'm not.
Right. Sure. Let me go into my participants. And who's this, Vita?
This is Jenna.
Oh, hi, Jenna.
Hi.
Okay, great. Okay, Jenna, great. I see you. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm making you co-host.
Yes.
Thank you. And can I follow you and see where you're at? You could just.
Let me see.
Okay.
Oh, for some reason I can't do it. But
okay.
But under participants it says invite, mute all, unmute all, and then more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
Okay, so it says.
Do you see how there's
Excuse me, everyone, sorry.
a number of options that says invite, mute all, unmute all, and more? on the
No.
right side of the screen? Do you have
I'm sorry. I see. Yes. I see it.
okay.
Yes.
And then under more,
Uh-huh.
when you click it, do you see a menu that says mute participants upon entry?
Yes.
Okay, so at the very bottom, does it say enable waiting room?
Yes, but it doesn't seem like I have that option.
Yeah, me
Touch
neither.
it. Yeah.
I
So isn't
guess-
that weird? Okay, so it's not our fault. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have that option. It's not letting me have that option.
Okay.
So I don't know how people are getting in the waiting room and waiting, for me to, let them in. I thought, I'm not sure how that's working.
I guess you need to just manually let them in.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I got to keep my eye on the screen. Thank you so much, Jenna. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm going back to this area in here, and I'm gonna finish up. I want you guys to go into. I think we've been painting a little, and I want you guys to go into your break rooms and work. Hello. Hi. Okay, I thought somebody had something they wanted to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, hi, Inga.
Yeah.
It's me, Antoinette. I just got on because I had a whole lot of trouble getting on.
Yeah,
until now.
we saw that people were waiting in the waiting room. And why did you have trouble? Was it something that I can help you with?
No, I clicked on the regular Zoom meeting, but it wouldn't let me in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think you were in a participating room and and I had to manually let you in. And that's what me and Jenna were just talking about. That I had to manually let you guys in, and I didn't even know that you were waiting because I'm doing the demo. So
Okay.
I thought I let everybody in, and then somehow they were not allowed. Somehow they got kicked back out or something like that. I didn't understand that, but I don't understand that particular thing. I wish I could enable everybody to stay in, but I found out that I can't even do that. So I'll talk it over with the director, or people that are handling that.
Okay.
Because I don't want that to happen again.
So do you have a recording of this
Yep.
week's?
Yep, I'm recording
Okay.
it and I'm going to post it, and you guys are going to see it, and it's going to be okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but I was working today, Antoinette. I thought that you were here. I'm sorry that you got kicked out of that. I've been working on the portrait and blending with the palette knife, and I'm going to do it again just for you because I know that you weren't here, and that was crazy that you got kicked out of there. So
Thank you.
I'm over here, and I'm adding this light blue that I add to my face that I can see with my primitive eye. I can see this
Okay.
within the lightness and darkness. So I've added my light blues, and it's like a cerulean mixed with white.
Okay.
And so I'm also going to add this nice light blue in the back here. I'll add it here. I'm going to add this nice light white blue, like it's mixed with white and cerulean blue. I'm going to add it into here, into the ponytail, over here, and there into the back of my neck. I see it there. I see it under here.
Okay.
Here. Okay, I see it in the formation. Then I'm going to go back with my olive green. Am I penning still? Yeah, I'm good. I'm penning. Good. All these mechanical things going on. Here we are. Add a little bit of orange or burnt sienna. And there we go. Adding that darkness in there. I got darkness in the back. I'm telling you, it's so dark. Look at that. Watch what happens to this.
Mm.
Look at that. So guys, if you have to go from here and take a break, just mute yourselves. Don't do anything like, leave, because that, I don't think you guys can get back in easy. I'm not sure how that's working.
Okay.
That's the kind of weird thing for me, because I thought I'd let everybody in. Okay, so this, see me? I'm adding this lightness that is definitely going to hit off of that darkness. I'll add even a little lighter. And then I'm going to show you Antoinette and anybody else that came in behind her. I'm going to show you, I'm going to add this real lightness. Oh, I want you to see that lightness. Oh my goodness, I want you to go in there and see it. There it goes, right? And then there's this burnt sienna mixed with like a little bit of ultramarine. And it goes just a tad bit in here. You can see a little darkness, like really dark. Oh, it's dark. It's almost like, yeah. And then there's darkness. I can add like a purple even. Add like a purple right in there. Yeah. And then in here, there it goes. There it goes. It's dark. There it's dark. It's dark over here. It's dark under here. And then that darkness goes. It's dark here. And then here, right there.
Okay.
And it's dark under here. Right? And then it's dark in there. And here. Okay. I see more darkness in here, but I see it almost darker than normal. It's darker. And it's right there. Okay, so we've added all that darkness. Oh, something happening here, and there's something happening over there, and there's darkness in there. So I use my palette there. I use my and there's darkness up in here. So there's this real darkness that's in this one corner that defines where the head is and the ponytail starts, right? So the head's there, darkness there. Look how the darkness starts to shape, you know? Starts to shape everything. So I'm going in with my palette knife. I put my brush back in my linseed oil so it can soak and it can clean when I'm ready to take it with my material. I have my material here and I have my palette knife. I'm going for it, okay? I see that I'm gonna go boom, down. I'm gonna take from the bottom up, and then I'm gonna hit it in the back. I'm gonna hit it in the back. I'm gonna go take this out, go take that out, and I'm gonna hit it in the back, right? There we go. I don't like this line here. This should not be a line. Now I'm gonna take that redness back, hit it back, hit it, there, hit it. Define the area, push back that light. Okay. It's actually more burnt sienna in that area. So here we go. Okay, it's sort of in there, and it goes there, and it's in there, and it's here. Okay, so I need to soften these areas. I gotta get rid of these lines. They're freaking me out. They're not supposed to be there. They're not what I see. I'm taking my palette knife and I'm crisscrossing, and then my final is over. I go up and down, and then my final's over. I go up and down. Okay, there we go. And then I'm down. There's hair here. There's a hair. There's a yellowish and white. It's very bright. Oh, this poor little doggy. I am so, I have two dogs, so it's just like, oh my God, what's going on? So this lightness shows where the ear is. And so let's see, here I am.
Now we're working on last week's paintings, right? We're working on them again.
Yes,
Okay.
most definitely. We're working on last week's painting, and we were working on finding the primitive eye within the work while you're adding in your if you were going to, you know, get your own lighting situation together, this enhances what you would see as you're working on your pieces. You know, it just gives you more insight into what really is there. So I'm going back in, and I am okay. So
now I have a plastic palette knife. Is that good?
Yeah.
Should I get a metal one?
You should get a metal one, but get one that you like. Put it in your hand. See how you move with it. You know, get one that fits nicely in your hand. Otherwise, you probably won't use it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You don't like the way it feels. You know, so you have to get yourself used to a palette knife like you would get yourself used to a brush. You know, your palette knife is your tool. You're blending, so you're definitely rubbing. What you want to do is you want to take the color that's next to the other, you know, to the color juxtaposed next to it, and you want to smear it into it. You don't want to smear, smear, smear. You just want to just one. That's enough.
Oh,
That's enough. Remember where
okay.
the outline is. Follow it. That's it. Don't cut your canvas. There's no
Okay.
reason you're not moving that hard. Okay. You want to just make definition. So this goes out to here. This goes out to here. You know, that's where the head is, and bring it all down. So every time you work, this is something that I will say I'd like to see you do, is make
Okay.
sure that before you leave your work, that you have hit that area with a palette,
Okay.
hoping that that you've at least toned down some of the lights and darks so you can go back and work on them in your wet on wet. When you start to do this, it's addictive because you know, oh my God, there's so much I can see now, and then there's so much I can do, and there's so much I have to add in for it
Right.
to be my completed works. You know,
That's great. Yeah.
and so if we go down to the chin, anywhere that you say, look, I don't do the lips. What do I care? I know what's there. I can always add more. Okay. And I can always take away with another color. Right.
Right.
Here.
Inga,
Yes, sir.
I have a quick question. I have to take my girlfriend to the hospital really quick. But a question I wanted to ask is the net. So the light. So I have two light sources in my little studio here. So one is coming from the window.
Okay.
So that would be on the painting itself, and I would use the lamp in my room to kind of focus the light on myself, on my face.
Yeah. So what the painting is, so I have a light for you guys to see, and I'm working right next to it. So this is literally my light, right?
Yeah.
And I have a light for you guys to see. But for you, you're not going to be streaming for here you may be streaming what you're doing as you're working. But when you're like working on your own, you're not going to be doing that, right? You're not going to be doing it. You're going to be worried about only the light on you in the mirror, not the light on the canvas. Now, the light on the canvas is good because you can step back and see the canvas, of course. But if you were working in candlelight, it's all going to be the same as far as the canvas. I mean, you're going to have to use that's extreme, like those eyes, like really look at your canvas and like, so it doesn't, so I'm hitting that back, guys. You see that? I'm hitting that back, shaping my head, shaping my forehead. Okay. So yeah, I think that the light on the canvas has nothing really to do with the light on yourself. That's the magic, is the light on yourself. Okay? Did I answer that?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Do you see what I'm doing? And I want you to know that I am recording this. It is recording. So I will post this as soon as it's done. And, you can look at that if you have to go. I so appreciate you coming to class. I can't wait to see what you're posting as our self-portraits are complete, as they're coming to a close and you guys feel confident enough to.
Sure. How far would you like us to go this week?
I would like you to finish if you can and just post, and we'll be working on something new the next week.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, that would be really good.
So
And
I have a quick question again also. When I originally went on and last week, I didn't know how much oil, like linseed oil and the mineral oil and the paints to use. So I did a really nice job, and then I came back to it the next day and it was all dripped down the canvas.
okay. So you use way too much linseed oil, and your linseed oil does not need to be mixed with your paint unless you're making paint. And it is something that you dip into your brush. So I put my brush into my linseed oil, and it goes right into my pigment, right into my paint, right?
Okay.
And then if it's too much, I can dab it like this. But if you do what I tell you about the about blending, then you'll get rid of all that anyway.
Okay.
You'll get rid of that anyway, because it will be, you know, mixed in with the other paint. But no, you don't want to have it dripping. It's not like that. It's just a little linseed oil into the paint to loosen it up. And
Okay.
you are then able to move your paint around and mix your paint freely, because you've already, you know, but you should not be using, you should just be using your brush into the paint, and that's just dipping it into, into the linseed oil, and that's just dipping it in there, making the brush, you know, able to, you know, pick up the paint very nicely and transfer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
To the surface here. No, you do not want to use too much paint, you know, too much linseed oil. And this helps so you don't use, you know, you don't even have to use that much paint because you already have this linseed oil going on with it, you know.
And then somebody posted this, and I wanted to know this also, is what colors would be useful to use on the palette? Like what colors?
Yes, I did post something about your palette to Google.
Oh, okay.
And I will talk about palettes as we go through. We'll have another session just with palettes and what's on the palette. But right now, you know, it's very good that you develop your palette the way you see fit. You know, put all your colors out. Your reds can be together, and you know, there's just suggestions because you yourself are going to have to learn to mix your own colors, and you're going to have a very different palette than other people's palette. It's just always going to be very different, and it always will be a nice discussion about palettes. If you were talking to another painter, maybe, you know, they can remember what their palette is. Some people don't have a set palette. That's if you're learning color theory, yeah, you'll probably have a palette that you're working with just for that particular. And like we're going to be working with a palette too. It's called the underpainting palette, where you're only going to be working with 2 colors.
Okay.
You know? So, you know, it's like a monotone palette. So these definitely, you know, work. See that? Do you see the intensity of the work, how it starts to form the intensity? So this is so important that you can recognize the intensity of the work in your own hand and putting down all your colors, the, you know, reds and, you know, like I said, I posted things. You can put your orange next to your reds and your yellows next to your orange, and, you know, and your, you know, greens next to your yellows, which make your, you know, what is it? Let's say yellows maybe next to your blues, then make the pretty greens. You know, making your whites and your flake whites separate, you know, so you can grab them while you're painting differently. Okay. So the reason why I don't have any set palette for myself and I just grab paint is because I'm very fluid with what I see. And I'm not, like, it helps to blend some colors before I start. Sure it does. You know, sure it does. It helps to blend some colors before I start. But I just paint it. I just go for it. I put all the colors out and I put them where I can reach them. I always make sure my ultramarine blue is next to my burnt umber because I use them very much together. So if I have to blend, I don't have to look and find. They're there together, you know?
Okay.
So I'm actually using like this purple as like this, you know, to accentuate the eyes. And that's going to allow me to go back into this with a darker color, giving me more way into the theory of the primitive eye. So when somebody looks at the darkness in my eyes that I've created, they're going to see different color in them, which gives them variation, point of entry, a story of its own, and insight into how the artist thinks and how they record what data that they see.
So Inga, on your palette, how many colors have you put down today?
On my palette, I've maybe only put, let's see, I got this 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe about 7 colors.
Sure. Now I have 30 colors. I would like to know what a basic 7 or 10 might be as a starting point.
Your primary colors, your cadmiums, you know, I would say you probably have a lot of extra colors there that you're able to use. but they're like specialty colors. Like I have some Williamsport, you know, or Williamsbridge or something, Williamsburg paints that are iridescent. Of course, I didn't put my iridescent paints down. There's no reason for me to put that iridescent paint down. I don't see any iridescent in my face. I can make my own if I see it. So those colors you don't want on your palette unless you're going to use them on your canvas. It could be in your clothes. It could be on your earrings. So those would be like the last colors I would put in. The colors that I would talk about are detailed, you know. So you want your ornament colors aside. I mean, in a way, I don't want to take you from it, but I want to know how big your palette is because you need room to mix. And honestly, a lot of art students, they'll get an old mirror and they'll use that old mirror as a palette. And the reflective palette, you know, the reflective glass underneath that palette and the smooth underneath that mirror, on that mirror, and the smoothness that it allows when you're mixing it, and the light, because you know any light's going to bounce off of a mirror. That is like the best palette that I've ever used. Or window panes, an old window pane, or if you just want to get some glass, and I know this is a tough one for a lot of people, and they don't like messing around with glass panes, but you strap it down to a piece of plywood board with some masking tape around it, and you got yourself a really super duper duper palette. You know, the kind of palettes you don't want to get rid of. You know, those are the greatest palettes, and you do want size, because if you have 30 colors, then you need to have space to paint. But I don't think you need all those colors.
So what were the 7 colors you used today that we saw you work with?
Okay, so I'll tell you the 7 colors, but I want to get you into your break rooms also, guys. And I'll also tell you the 7 colors, but I also want you to know that I posted on Google Classrooms a whole palette consideration, a lot of understanding about palettes and information for you guys at your leisure you can look at. But here we go. Now, I have a light permanent green. I have a yellow ochre and a cadmium yellow. I have an ultramarine blue and a burnt umber, and I have a purple oxide. I also have orange, titanium orange. I also have red. I'm not sure if I'm not titanium, cadmium orange, and I have a red. I'm not sure. I think it's a permanent rose red that I'm using. I like permanent rose, guys. I really like permanent rose, and I think you will too. Alizarin crimson is cool, and it makes you think it's permanent rose, but it's not permanent rose. You feel me? Like permanent rose is like a really pretty red. You mix it with white, and it's really nice. And if you mix it with a cadmium orange, you got a pretty flesh tone, as long as you make sure that that white is your binder. And that's a titanium white, not flake white. Flake white, and I want you guys to consider using gloves. Flake white, you definitely use gloves when you start to use flake whites. I think it may be okay if you use a flake white hue, but certain oil paints have certain, you know, things in there that can agitate your arthritis. You got these great surgical plastic gloves that you can paint with, and they won't hinder you. So going forward, cerulean blue is my love guy. I love cerulean blue mixed with titanium white because it gives me lightness on dark skin. And even if you're olive skin, that's still dark skin, consider what you see. And so I have here, oh, I got a pretty sap green, guys, sap green. When we do landscaping, that permanent green and sap green, oh, you're gonna love using those. The burnt sienna along with the burnt umber, you know, very good selection. So that's what my palette looks like today. And that's what I like to use ordinarily. I got lots of paints. I got iridescent paints and things, but believe it or not, I'm not drawn to them unless something is on there that calls for it. I paint what I see. So if there's something that's not on my palette and I need to put it on my palette, I'm going to find it. I'm going to put it on my palette. So that's why me telling you what's on my palette is just a gesture. And of course, you know, it's good for you to know. but I want you guys to think about your palette, only because you're also dealing with flesh tones differently, and everybody is very different on that. Everybody. I don't care. It's definitely not built into race, that whole thing there. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just deal with this jawline real quick since I added this darkness. But I'm not saying I'm finished, but I'm saying that I'm actually gonna paint a little bit with this palette knife here. So just adding color with my palette knife, because I know I'm gonna blend, you know, into it. So I'm just throwing color up there.
So what do you do if you can't really see all these colors?
You can see them. Just take your time. And if you can't see, like for instance, remember we were talking about whites, and I have this big thing about white is not like the lightest thing in the paper, and a lot of things that we're defining are white are not white. So what I would do with that is that get your lighting right. Your lighting is going to definitely accentuate colors that you're not able to see. I don't care if you have your glasses or not glasses, the lighting is going to accentuate your lights and darks, and within the lights and darks if you got a good spotlight. So that's one. And another way is this. Remember I was telling you about the lights of the white? If you think an area is white, take a white piece of paper and hold it up to that area in front of your eye and look at the difference. Look how dark the natural area is compared to a white surface. Another thing is you can get a tinted paper, and I'll do this when I'm going to order some tinted paper today so I can make sure. This tinted paper is like plexiglass, very thin film. You know, it's just like a tinted plastic. Tinted plastic oftentimes allows you to see the darkness and lightness in a spotlighted area or in an area that you weren't able to see before. You're also able to see light and dark after you take that film away from your eyes, because it has shown you the lights and darks. For instance, you can take a light and you can turn things out into dark, and you can see a difference. You know, you can see that difference on your skin too, right? Things get different. You can see a lot different. You'll see everything very different, but you won't see all the deeps and darks of the lights and darks until you create a lighting with your spotlight. Is that clear? Spotlight.
What was that about the colored film? Say that again.
Okay, so the color film is like you can go into any Michael's and get this colored piece of film plastic. In fact, people make folders out of that kind of film that I'm talking about, you know? You might even have red is a good one, yellow is a good one, and blue is a good one. And I will add those to the Google Classroom and where you can pick them up from Blick or whatever. They're just little pieces of film, maybe 4x5, you know?
And what do you do with them again?
You put them up like your viewfinder, you put them up to your eye and you look at the image that's lit with the spotlight. You look at that image through that plastic film, you're able to locate the lights and darks. And then when you take that film away, you can start to see more color, because see, you're changing your eye into monotone, which then allows you to see more color when you take it away. Trick? Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
It's a trick, right? So you're forcing yourself to see lights and darks. Once you take that away, you can see color, because the same thing with underpainting. When we do underpainting, hopefully I'm going to look at the syllabus so I know that we're actually going to do it. Underpainting forces you to deal with only monotone colors. You have to absolutely change all your lights and darks and colors into just lights and darks. You're not able to use blue because you're not going to use blue because you're using only olive green and white. So you have to find the gradation of those colors. Once you've done that and you forced yourself not to see color, seeing color with the natural eye becomes more vibrant. And this is an exercise in locating your primitive eye. Okay? Now, I like to break you up into break rooms because I really want you to be able to, because what are we, 1 to 3? And you've been painting. have a little tap time. Okay, we got about, does anybody want to meet with me? I don't think we have that much time.
Yes.
Anne, let me see. Okay, so we're going to go into break rooms, and then I'm going to meet with Anne. And then I'm only going to give you guys, we're 2:19. I would like to see us working until I want to talk about, I want to get us to Google Classroom so we can see the post.
No, you don't want to see mine.
Well, I do want everybody to see the post. And I just think that I got to time myself doing these demos. Okay. So, okay. So I'm going to break everybody up right now. And I'm going to have you working until 2:35. I think that gives me and Ann a little bit of time. 2:35. Then I come out. We got like 30 minutes. We got to we'll have 30 minutes left of class. 2:35. Let me just think, guys.
What are we supposed to be doing in these breakout rooms?
What you're doing right now. I'm just going to this allows me to have a one-on-one session with people that want to have a one-on-one session with me. Okay, so I'll go into your breakout rooms and then I'll ask you guys to log out. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm adding people. Please accept the breakout rooms. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Can anybody tell me how to accept a breakout room?
It should be coming to you now, and you can look at your chat and see, but I believe it's going to come to you.
All right,
now,
I'll wait for my chat.
Okay, who was that? I'm going to make sure you get there.
That was Jill.
Okay, great. Let me get you there, Jill. Do you see it?
No.
I'm gonna, some people, I think I have you in all, let me see, how many breakout rooms do I have everybody in? Okay, seems like a lot of people are in breakout room 1. I'm just gonna ask people to go to breakout room 2. So just be patient with me here. Just gotta make sure I'm asking the right people. So it's even, one.
That's all right. I'll just keep painting. And I'll keep.
No, you're in here twice. Are you logged in twice?
Well, I did try and log in. Oh, I'll leave. I tried to log in on my phone.
Yeah.
So that I could, because I didn't think this was working. All right,
Oh.
leave it on my phone.
Okay. Thank you.
I did.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you. All right. So, okay, that's good. All right. So I have 4 people in breakout room 1 and 4 people in breakout room 2. I'm opening all breakout rooms. Please accept. And